All right, welcome to the Pick Up Korea podcast. And today I want to answer some listener questions. Recently I got, a handful of questions on the Facebook group. And if you're not part of the Facebook group, just go to pickupkorea.com, click the link there on the front page, and you can be a part of the community there where you can ask questions, you can organize meetups, and of course, often on the podcast, I answer a lot of the questions that either I get by email or that are posted in the group. So, to start off here, the first question I got is how much does race and ethnicity play into attracting Korean girls? And how important are image and fashion? So, when it comes to race and ethnicity, um, first of all, Korean girls are Asian. So if you look similar to them, you're going to automatically be viewed more like, more like a human, more like somebody who blends in, more like somebody who they're used to interacting with, right? And so the more different you look, the more of an outsider you're perceived as, right? And of course, you're going to have girls that are more international, lived abroad, or just interested in foreigners. And of course, in that regard too, there is some curiosity factor to being a foreigner, right? Like, wow, this is different, this is unique, whether you can speak Korean or not, or she can speak English, there is a sort of unique appeal, a unique attractiveness of talking to a foreigner, yet they don't always feel comfortable around them, right? And so there's sort of the pros and cons of that aspect, right? In terms of the race though, right? Like, is there any pros and cons of being different races? I mean, if, like I said, if you're Asian, you're going to be perceived more as Korean, right? Oftentimes, if you're white, it's kind of what I was just talking about. And then, of course, you have like Indian, Middle Eastern, right? Which, from my experience coaching many people from the Middle East or India, they're really often more lumped in towards just foreigners in general, right? And then, of course, you have black, and which I've coached, a handful of black guys. And I think that in general, as long as you dress presentable and clean, and you don't look too dangerous or thuggish, so to speak, then usually it's fine. I mean, it's not doesn't necessarily go against you. Okay. However, like I said, the guys I see that do well usually they don't look too intimidating, right? They're sort of adjusted their fashion and their approach to being a little bit more laid back, not so aggressive, right? And so, yeah, that's basically in terms of race. The pros and cons of being a foreigner and a Korean or an Asian are sort of the unique factor, but then also, the curiosity, the intrigue, but then also the lack of comfort versus, them being automatically comfortable with you, but less of that curiosity if you're Asian, right? Another thing, though, is if you're like Asian American, that's also interesting because they view you sort of similar with them, but you do have that sort of appeal of being an English speaker and being a little bit different, right? So it can kind of help you in some ways as well, right? All right. So another question is how. Okay, what is the ideal aesthetic? Okay, so like, what are the? I guess what this person is asking is basically, what are the like local beauty standards or local attractiveness standards for men in Korea? I believe that's what he's trying to ask here. So, in general, being tall, if you ask Korean girls like, what is your ideal type? Most of them are going to say, 180 centimeters and above, right? Which is probably like 6 foot and above. However, that being said, some of the best guys I've ever seen are like 175 centimeters, 170 centimeters. So it's not like something that's going to hold you back. It's not, as long as you adjust your approach, you get better, you improve yourself, you can still get amazing results. Will being taller be more of an advantage? Sure, but if you're really tall, it's not just going to help you by just standing around being tall, right? It will be a slight advantage, but if you learn game, that's really the great equalizer, right? In terms of like somebody was asking in regards to this, like, is it better to be more flowery or macho? I would say sort of a combination of the both, right? And of course, there's girls all have their own unique style. Not every girl's gonna like the same thing. You have to understand that, right? However, of course, being muscular, being like in shape, in shape, being toned is good. It's usually very good. However, typically speaking, rather than being like rugged, like more of a clean cut look is more desirable. In other words, like you can have a beard, but it should look clean shaven, right? Or you can be toned or buff or whatever. However, that being said, like you know you're not looking too rugged. In other words, being a little bit cleaner in your dress, having cleaner skin. So that was another question here. It's like, yeah, doing skincare is a big thing here. So most Asians, most Koreans really focus on good, clean skin. So taking care of your skin, getting some real basic face wash, toner, lotions, skin creams, even doing mask packs can help out, right? Sort of moisturize and clear up your skin if you have any skin problems, and just in general to have healthy looking skin is good. Another thing that was mentioned in this post is BB cream, and so BB cream can actually be good. There's a lot of men's BB cream, and it's sort of mixed with sunblock, right? So sunblock is also really good because it prevents you from getting a lot of wrinkles. Like a lot of guys in their 50s and 60s who have very wrinkly skin, it's because they didn't use sunblock, right? And so, it's not going to 100% prevent you from getting wrinkles, but using sunblock is very beneficial to you, right? It'll prevent a lot of skin damage. And then also with the BB cream included in it, which you can get at any store in Korea, really like Olive Young or any of these sort of cosmetic shops, right? The men's BB cream sunblock, you can find one that's good for your skin tone, and it kind of evens out your skin tone, clears it out. So if you have, poor skin tone or acne or anything, it can kind of clear out your skin tone so you look like you have better skin. So would I recommend it? I would say yes for people who have poorer skin. I would definitely say yes. Um, so yeah, is it weird? No, it's very common in Korea, especially for guys. Is it needed? Not really, like I said. However, it can help if you have, uneven skin tone and skin issues, right? Um, let's see. Yeah, the other question is it good to go for like a too Korean look? So adjusting your fashion to Korean standards can be good. If you dress like a total foreigner that sticks out, um, that'll have appeal to some people. However, you'll get a better response in general from a lot of girls that if you have a better look suited to the country, right? So, I mean, you can have your own personal appeal, your own personal flair, right? However, that being said, sort of study up on, what are the guys in Korea who do well with women, who have hot girls around them? How are they dressed? That's a pretty good metric. So instead of just, wanting to stick out like a foreigner or wear, ill-fitting clothes and unfashionable stuff, or you think you're being unique but it's just kind of off-putting, instead really be practical, be pragmatic about it, and really look at other guys and what they're wearing, how they dress, how do their clothes fit, what are their styles, right? Okay, so another question here we have are, what are the frames that make a night and day difference? What do they look like in practice from someone poor versus someone advanced? Okay, so in terms of frames, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of different frames. Like, a lot of guys will come in sort of too friendly, like they're just trying to be a friend, or they're just trying to please the girl, or they're fighting for rapport, fighting to get liked, right? Obviously, that's like the poorest frame you can have. Um, Other frames are like you're sort of this lost foreigner. I've seen many guys do this kind of thing, right? And so it's not like these things, these frames never work out. They just work out much less often, and it's a time waste, and it's kind of weak, right? And so they're not ideal by any means, right? Um, so guys that have like weaker frames, they're usually sort of like timid. They're usually have trouble leading, right? And then like the more advanced you get, the stronger your frame is, the more solid you are, the more you're not like seeking validation from the girl, the more you lead, the more you're comfortable cracking jokes, giving her a hard time, teasing her, making it fun, making it flirtatious and playful, and sort of putting everything on the line, right? Not like playing not to lose, but rather playing to win, right? And so, yeah, somebody who has a strong frame in general is just sort of, they're very comfortable in their own skin. They're very confident and they're not afraid to lead. They're not afraid to lose the girl either, right? They're not walking on eggshells, hoping to get liked or what have you, right? And so, yeah, if you have the ebook, I wrote, a whole section on different frames to take on. There's like the Opa frame, which is like the big brother frame, right? Sort of the leader, the sort of sunbae, the sort of senior in her life who has more knowledge, more experience, more insights into her world, into her reality, and is sort of somebody she can kind of relax and default to, and she can kind of let herself be led by, right? She can kind of trust, she can kind of give in to your leadership, she can count on you for insight, right? And so this is, the OPA frame, right? And yeah, I list another handful of frames in the book, so definitely pick up the ebook if you get a chance, because I write about that more in detail there, right? All right, so let's see. There's another question here. What is smart to prioritize from the start? So what should guys be focusing on, right? So this question says, number one, priority is beating approach anxiety. Yeah, so of course, initially, if you're a total beginner, then really you want to focus on getting in reps, right? So going out, overcoming your own mental loops, mental bullshit, anxiety, right? And actually going out, overcoming all the things that are blocking you emotionally or mentally, and getting out there doing reps, talking to women, approaching them, interacting with them, and getting comfortable doing that, and not getting in your own way. In other words, learning to get out of your own way and take action, right? And so, yeah, of course, initially that's the most important thing, because without that, you're not meeting any girls, you're not improving, right? Not getting dates, right? And then after that, next you say getting more dates. So yeah, after you work on the anxiety, and getting the reps, you want to sort of refine the process, right? So you want to, get better at interactions, get better at expressing yourself, get better at flirting, get better at leading, get better at, cutting deeper into the interaction, getting her to open up herself, as well as sharing your story as well, right? And making better quality connections, better quality interactions, right? That's what you want to focus on next, rather than just opening, right? And of course, you want to also focus on sort of how she's feeling in the interaction, and other factors like that, right? Like, what is her experience of this interaction as well, right? Then, yeah, of course, after that, getting more dates. So, of course, working on your texting, sort of refining that process, finding what kind of texts are better, and working on your text in order to get more dates, right? That's the whole point in text, is to link up with the girl in person, right? And so after you kind of get better at texting and working on that through getting a lot of leads, which is through doing a lot of interactions, right? The next part is getting more dates, right? So a lot of guys will, go all the way to this point, and then they'll get dates and they'll just fuck up on every date, right? And so, yeah, once you get to the date part, scheduling as many dates as you can be very useful, a handful a week or a few a week, just so that you get the reps of getting comfortable on dates, right? Getting comfortable leading, getting comfortable flirting on the dates, getting comfortable closing your dates, right? And then, from there, basically relationship skills, right? Whether you want to have a girlfriend, you want to segue into getting married, you want to have an open relationship, you want, many lights, sort of friends with benefits, or regular girls you meet, handful once a week or what have you, right? So there's a whole process of relationship management after that, right? And that's like the next end of the funnel, right? So it starts all the way from approach anxiety to perfecting your interactions, getting better at those, to texting, getting better at texting, getting better at dates, getting better at relationships, right? And so, yeah, it's sort of you're working on all of these things sort of simultaneously, right? However, it's sort of natural to focus more on the area that you're working on. So if you're a beginner, you're starting at the beginning, approach anxiety. If you're more advanced, or you're more intermediate, you're going to be focusing more on the dates and the, relationship management, right? And so it's sort of, yeah, that's kind of the progression, right? Okay. Another question. Other PUAs mention sexcalation to prevent the girl from friend zoning you. How would this work out in a more conservative country like Korea? So, sexcalation, I think this refers to like being physical with the girl outside of your apartment or something like that, right? And so I really heavily advise against this. So, in general, a little bit of physicality can be good, playful physicality, like flirtatious, sort of like how you would with your younger sister, swatting her, kind of teasing her, sort of, checking out her rings on her fingers and stuff like that, right? Little contextual things that make sense, but like going for hard makeouts in public and things like this, I generally advise against because for many reasons, as part of the culture, it's sort of looked down upon. It's a little bit more of a classier culture, a little bit more cognizant of what other people think around them, and they don't want to look like a slut, right? And at the same time, too, getting better at being a leader and flirting with your eye contact, your verbals, your vibe, as well as creating tension in the interaction without having to touch them. That's really where you want to focus on your subcommunications, right? Your verbals, your subcommunications, your body language, your flirtation skills, rather than having to make out in order to make it, in order to create sexual tension, right? So ultimately, you want that tension to be there, and then, you want to do those kind of physical things behind closed doors, whether that is your home, a hotel, a multi-room, a karaoke room, things along these lines, right? And so, yeah, that's really ultimately how you separate from like a friend zone, is really just being more of a leader, being more bold, being more flirtatious, being more having an implicit frame of, me and you flirting on a date, right? Rather than me and you just friendship, okay? All right, so let's see if there's any more that I covered. Let's see. Okay, yeah, it looks like I covered most of them. Okay, good. So the final thing I wanted to mention on this podcast is that I'm currently also running a Korean language course specifically for day game, night game, texting, and dating. So if you want to be a part of that, what we do is we meet via either Skype or Zoom, and we go over a lesson plan, which is going to be related to really practical Korean, such as, opening, how to open, how to continue an interaction, how to get the number in Korean, how to text in Korean, how to run a date in Korean. And so we use all practical expressions, vocabulary, grammar, texting, right? That you can directly apply into the real world rather than just learning Korean with weird expressions people don't use on dates, and that it is not practical, not useful in terms of picking up and dating women, right? And so if you're interested in that program, you can drop an email below. The email's in the link below, and you can just write, interested in Korean for dating class, and then we can try to hash out the details, see if we can match up times, and work it out virtually so that we can do the lessons. You'll get a Google document, which will be ongoing, which will include expressions that, once you finish the class, you can review, you have homework assignments, and you have this sort of big database to work from, which, later, say you finish the class, you stop doing the class, you always have that sheet to kind of refer to as a reference guide to study and practice in the real world, right? And so it's really useful, really practical in terms of learning Korean for dating. And it does definitely help out with, hotter girls here. And also just really in general, creating a connection, showing that you're trying, showing that you are interested in the culture. And of course, it opens a wider net to girls who can speak zero English as well, right? And so, yeah, if you're interested in that, you can drop a line below to ketherk@yahoo.com. And I think we covered everything for now. So until next time.